#HFY story, translation errors and perceptions, 2620, r/HFY. It was the year 2620, and humanity had finally made contact with the enigmatic Veraki, a race known across the galaxy for their hyper-intelligence, cold logic, and unyielding pursuit of precision. Diplomatic overtures had been cautious but promising. Humans, with their creativity and emotional depth, intrigued the Veraki, who often found other species predictable and uninteresting. Captain Elaine Martez was humanity's envoy, fluent in 14 alien languages. She was selected not just for her linguistic talents but for her ability to navigate the complexities of cross-cultural interaction. The summit was held on Nathan 7, a neutral station designed for interspecies diplomacy. The gleaming metallic halls were crowded with representatives from various species, but today, all eyes were on the Veraki delegation and the humans. Elaine stood before the Veraki's lead diplomat, Althrex, a towering figure with a translucent exoskeleton and countless bioluminescent filaments that pulsed in patterns that were their version of speech. As she began, the translation device hummed to life. "Greetings, esteemed representatives of the Veraki," she said warmly. "We come with open hearts and minds, eager to forge a partnership of mutual respect and understanding." The device interpreted her words into a complex series of lights and pulses. Althrex's filaments glimmered in response. The reply came through the translator: "We accept your offering of soft, yielding organs and seek to evaluate their fitness for integration into our collective nourishment practices." Elaine froze. Her team, watching from a nearby chamber, burst into frantic activity. "What just happened?" one of the technicians demanded, scrolling through streams of translation algorithms. "It's a mistranslation," another said, panicking. "The Veraki word for partnership is nearly identical to their term for sustenance." Elaine suppressed a grimace. "Correct that, quickly," she murmured into her earpiece. The translation updated, but before Elaine could resume, Althrex's filaments pulsed furiously. "Your hesitation is noted. It appears your species finds our methods disconcerting, curious. How does your kind achieve such cooperation without consuming one another?" Elaine's eyebrows shot up. The room went silent. It was a turning point in the negotiation. The Veraki, it turned out, had never encountered a species that didn't integrate, literally, individuals into a collective. The concept of coexistence without assimilation was alien to them. Elaine realized this wasn't just about translation, it was about perception. The Veraki didn't think of consumption as violent or cruel. To them, it was unity at its finest. "I understand now," Elaine said, her voice steady. "To you, assimilation is a form of cooperation, but humanity thrives through collaboration, where individuals retain their autonomy while contributing to a greater whole." Her explanation triggered a cascade of lights across Althrex's filaments. The translator's voice returned. "This fragmentation of purpose intrigues us. Such diversity of thought must yield unpredictable innovation." Elaine nodded. "Exactly, that diversity is our strength. Perhaps, if we work together, you could experience it firsthand." The Veraki deliberated, their patterns of light and pulse shifting rapidly. Finally, Althrex spoke. "Agreed, we will engage in this collaborative fragmentation. However, we request samples of your literature, music, and art to analyze further." Elaine let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We'd be honored to share our culture with you." The summit concluded on a note of cautious optimism. The humans and Veraki had taken the first step toward understanding, proving that even the most profound translation errors could lead to unexpected connections, and perhaps, a better galaxy. HFY moments don't always come from superior strength or technology. Sometimes, they come from the sheer resilience and creativity of human perception. Elaine returned to the human delegation chamber, her team buzzing with excitement and relief. The successful negotiation had brought humanity closer to the Veraki than anyone had thought possible, but Elaine couldn't shake the feeling that they'd only scratched the surface of understanding this alien species. As her team debriefed, a junior linguist approached with a tablet. "Captain, there's something you should see. The Veraki sent a follow-up communication while we were in the summit." Elaine took the tablet and skimmed the contents. It was a block of translated text, accompanied by a glowing sequence of Veraki patterns. The text read, "Fascinating anomaly observed. Request further exploration of fragmented methodologies. Propose mutual cultural immersion experiment. What does this mean? Elaine asked. The linguist adjusted her glasses nervously. It means they don't just want to learn about us from a distance, they want direct interaction. They're inviting us to visit one of their homeworlds to experience their way of life. The room fell silent. Humanity's previous encounters with other species had rarely gone this far. Most interstellar relationships were limited to trade agreements or academic exchanges, but this was unprecedented. Do we accept? One of the scientists asked, his voice tinged with both awe and apprehension. Elaine leaned back in her chair, considering the implications. Immersing themselves in Veraki society could be dangerous. The mistranslation earlier had highlighted just how alien their perceptions were, and a misstep on their homeworld could risk everything, but it could also be the key to a breakthrough in interspecies understanding. We accept, Elaine said finally, her tone resolute, but we'll need a carefully chosen team, translators working overtime, and contingency plans for every scenario imaginable. This is our chance to show them who we really are, and to learn from them, too. The journey to Verak Prime took 3 weeks in hyperspace. During that time, Elaine's team pored over every scrap of information they could find about the Veraki. The species' history, physiology, and social structure were unlike anything humanity had encountered. They had no central government but operated as a network of interconnected collectives, each specializing in a particular field: engineering, biology, art, and more. When they finally arrived, the sight of Verak Prime took their breath away. The planet's surface was a kaleidoscope of shimmering bioluminescent structures that pulsed like a living organism. The cities weren't built, they were grown, each one a masterpiece of organic engineering. Elaine and her team were greeted by Althrex and a delegation of other Veraki, their filaments glowing in what the translator interpreted as welcoming curiosity. "Welcome, humans," Althrex said through the device. "We have prepared a program to immerse you in our ways. You will live among us, observe, and participate." The first few days were overwhelming. The Veraki's communication patterns were far more complex than their translation devices could fully capture, and misunderstandings were frequent. Yet, Elaine noticed something remarkable. The Veraki were not just observing humanity, they were adapting. They began modifying their speech patterns and behaviors to make the humans more comfortable. In one particularly memorable exchange, a young human scientist attempted to explain the concept of humor to a group of Veraki. At first, the aliens were baffled, but as they analyzed the nuances of wordplay and absurdity, their filaments began to flicker in what the translator described as approximated amusement. "Fascinating," Althrex commented. "You derive pleasure from the unexpected. This is a concept we must explore further." As the weeks went on, humanity's influence began to subtly reshape the Veraki. They experimented with artistic expression, creating sculptures and melodies that, while primitive by human standards, were a groundbreaking departure from their usual utilitarian designs. In turn, humanity learned from the Veraki's unparalleled efficiency and collective problem-solving. The idea of blending individuality with collaborative networks began to inspire new theories in human sociology and technology. By the end of their stay, Elaine and her team had forged bonds with the Veraki that went far beyond diplomacy. On their final day, Althrex presented a parting gift, a glowing orb that pulsed with a rhythm that Elaine recognized as a replication of her heartbeat. "It is a symbol of our shared learning," Althrex explained. "Your species has shown us the strength of the fragmented whole. We look forward to continuing this journey together." Elaine smiled, touched by the gesture. "And we've learned the power of unity in diversity. This is just the beginning." As the human delegation departed Verak Prime, they carried with them not just knowledge, but a profound sense of hope. Despite the vast differences between their species, humanity and the Veraki had proven that understanding, and even friendship, was possible, one translation error at a time. Elaine sat in her quarters aboard the Starfire, humanity's delegation ship, gazing at the glowing orb Althrex had gifted her. Its gentle pulse, synchronized with her heartbeat, was both a reminder of their accomplishments and a challenge. The journey to bridge the gap between humanity and the Veraki had only begun, and she couldn't help but wonder how deep the connection could go, or how fragile it might be. The ship's comm buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was Drive, Levin, the linguist who had worked tirelessly on the translation algorithms. "Captain," We've received another transmission from the Veraki, Levin said, excitement tinging his voice. You should see this. Elaine hurried to the comms deck. The screen displayed a series of pulsating lights and patterns, the Veraki's visual language. The translation read, "We propose the next phase, a joint exploration of unknown territories. Your adaptability complements our precision. Together, we may uncover what neither could alone." The room erupted in murmurs. Humanity had dreamed of cooperative exploration with another species, but the Veraki's invitation was a step further than anticipated. "Thoughts?" Elaine asked, looking around the room. "Drive," Levin spoke first. "Their offer is genuine. They see our unpredictability and creativity as assets. This is a monumental opportunity, not just for exploration but for forging an unprecedented alliance." "And the risks?" Elaine pressed. "Drive." Han, the team's biologist, stepped forward. "We'd be entering uncharted space with a species we still don't fully understand. Their methods, while effective, might conflict with our values. We need to set clear boundaries before proceeding." Elaine nodded. "Then we negotiate. Let's draft a response." The reply was simple but clear. "We accept your proposal with enthusiasm. However, we request a preliminary planning session to establish mutual guidelines for the expedition." The Veraki's response arrived within minutes. "Agreed. Let us collaborate on these terms. A joint council will convene on Nathan 7. The second summit on Nathan 7 brought together not just diplomats but scientists, engineers, and strategists from both sides. The room buzzed with activity as humans and Veraki worked to outline their shared mission. One of the primary challenges was reconciling their approaches. The Veraki favored meticulous pre-planning, while humanity's history of exploration thrived on improvisation and risk-taking. "We propose an adaptive framework," Elaine suggested during the discussions. "Each phase of the mission will include both structured and flexible elements, allowing us to leverage our respective strengths." The Veraki delegation deliberated, their filaments pulsing in rapid patterns. Finally, Althrex's voice came through the translator. "Your proposal aligns with the concept of fragmented cohesion. It is acceptable." The Joint Council also agreed on the first destination, a recently discovered star system shrouded in anomalies that defied conventional physics. Both species were eager to investigate, though their motivations differed. The Veraki sought to unravel the system's mysteries with precision, while humanity was drawn to the potential for inspiration and innovation. As the Starfire and the Veraki vessel, Illumini, prepared for departure, the crews underwent joint training. For the first time, humans and Veraki worked side by side in labs, simulated environments, and shared living quarters. Tensions arose, as was inevitable. A human engineer clashed with a Veraki over the design of a shared toolset, each insisting their approach was superior. But in the end, the dispute became a learning experience. The final design combined elements of both methods, resulting in a tool that was more versatile than either had imagined. Moments like these built trust, slowly but surely. The day of departure arrived. Both ships entered hyperspace, their systems synchronized for the journey. Elaine stood on the bridge of the Starfire, watching the swirling void of hyperspace on the view screen. "This is it," she said quietly, "the start of something bigger than any of us." The mission would test them in ways they couldn't yet predict. They would face dangers and challenges, uncover wonders, and perhaps even redefine what it meant to explore the unknown. But as Elaine watched the pulsing orb on her desk, its steady rhythm echoing her heartbeat, she felt confident. Humanity and the Veraki had taken their first steps together, and the future, though uncertain, had never looked brighter.